Thank you very much, Count Corlin. I too would like to welcome Her Excellency Ambassador Garasko, who has done fantastic work over the last couple of years in highlighting the atrocities that have been happening in the Ukraine. And I think it's important that we don't forget that when people say we should do more for peace in Ukraine, peace could happen in the next 5 minutes in Ukraine if Putin just withdrew. He is the aggressor here. It's clear from the attendance of the attendees today and engagement that Irish support for Ukraine remains steadfast across the political spectrum. We clearly recognise what is at stake here. And as they defend their nation, Ukrainians are also defending our fundamental European freedoms, the rights of all people to live peacefully within their own borders and according to their own values and their own choices. With Saturday marking the 2-year anniversary of the launch of Russia's full-scale invasion, it is vital that our commitment towards Ukraine remains unwavering. We must remember that the impact of Russia's aggression has implications far beyond Ukraine. If Russia is allowed to win in Ukraine, then we will all suffer the consequences. Count Corlin, we continue to hear talk of so-called Ukraine fatigue. Ukraine is defending its territorial integrity and fighting for its survival as a nation. It is not for us to tell the Ukrainian people that they should capitulate to Russian aggression and relinquish large swathes of their territory. Indeed, talk of fatigue and disunity in Western countries does a great disservice to the Ukrainian people, who continue to remain resilient despite the immense hardship and pressures they have been subject to. Ukraine needs our support now more than ever. We should also not forget that since the beginning of Russia's illegal and unjustified war of aggression, the response of the European Union has been unprecedented in its unity, its firmness and its determination. Our collective response has encompassed political, financial, humanitarian, military and diplomatic support for Ukraine. We must recall that although for Ukraine this defence is existential, for Russia it remains a war of choice. Unfortunately, their relentless bombardment of civilians and civilian infrastructure makes clear that Russia has no intention of reaching a peaceful resolution to this conflict. Russia is also clearly looking for signs that European support for Ukraine is weakening. However, European support has proven steadfast, and most recently with the decision to open accession negotiations and approval of the €50 billion Ukraine facility. The people of Ukraine have proven time and time again that they value the fundamental rights of freedom and democracy and are prepared to fight for them. The historic decision by the European Council to open accession negotiations with Ukraine was a strong signal to the Ukrainian people as they continue to defend their country that Ukraine belongs within the European family. Ireland remains a strong supporter of European Union enlargement, and we will do all we can to help Ukraine progress along its European path. We believe that EU membership will be the ultimate security guarantee for Ukraine and is in the overall strategic interest of the European Union. We recognise the value of enlargement and as a transformative driver for stability and peace in candidate countries, and Russia's invasion of Ukraine has highlighted the clear need for continuing ever closer cooperation between the European Union and our nearest neighbours. Count Corlin, it is crucial that we uphold accountability for Russia's flagrant violations of the rules-based international order. We have been clear that Ireland supports full accountability for breaches of international law, including those arising out of Russia's invasion and including those subject to ongoing investigations of the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. Ireland has been at the forefront of one of the highest profile accountability initiatives in the effort to establish a special tribunal for the prosecution of the crime of aggression in Ukraine. Ireland is also a founding participant of the Register of Damage, established under the auspices of the Council of Europe, which will serve as a record of evidence and information on claims of damage, loss of injury caused by Russia's actions in or against Ukraine. It is intended that the Register will be the first step towards an international compensation mechanism for victims of Russian aggression. The urgency and significance of accountability becomes even more starkly apparent with the evidence that Russia is forcibly transferring Ukrainian children either to Ukrainian areas temporarily occupied by Russia, to Russia itself, or to neighbouring Belarus. Almost 20,000 children have now been identified by Ukraine as having been forcibly moved from their homes. Not only have these children had to suffer the hardships of war, they have had the added trauma of being torn from their families and taken against their will to Russian state institutions, often with little or no communication with their loved ones. These children need to be safely repatriated and reintegrated back into their communities from which they were taken. I must emphasise the unlawful deportation or transfers of civilians, including children, is a war crime. We note that such alleged crimes as they concern Ukraine are the subject of arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court. Ireland condemns in the strongest possible terms the detention, abduction or kidnapping of these children, and we insist on their unconditional release. We are committed to ensuring the safe return of all children and other civilians who have been unlawfully deported during the course of this brutal invasion. That is why Ireland has raised this issue in our statements in multilateral fora, including the Human Rights Council, both in our national capacity and as part of the European Union. We have participated at meetings of the International Coalition of Countries for the Return of Ukrainian Children, for which the primary objective is to identify practical steps for the international community to help bring deported children back home. Ireland also co-sponsored a resolution of the United Nations Human Rights Council establishing an independent international commission of inquiry to investigate all alleged violations and abuses of human rights and violations of international humanitarian law and related crimes in the context of Russia's aggression against Ukraine. We will continue to engage with the entire international community to ensure accountability for Russia's reprehensible actions in Ukraine so that justice is served to the victims of this conflict and families that were torn apart can be reunited once more. Ceann Comhairle, as Putin prosecutes his war of choice with indiscriminate bombing, destroying civilian infrastructure across Ukraine, the need to support early recovery and longer-term reconstruction efforts is clear. Although the ongoing destruction of Ukraine by Russia makes it difficult to accurately assess what the eventual cost of reconstruction would be, the latest World Bank estimates have put the eventual reconstruction bill at a US $486 billion over the next decade. It is important that the international community focuses now on putting in place the necessary structures and mechanisms for a successful reconstruction effort. The reconstruction process can further Ukraine's European aspirations by ensuring that investments and the EU reform agenda are mutually reinforcing. Ukraine can and will be built back up, this time as a full-fledged member of the European Union in recognition of their clear European choice. In closing, Deputies, I thank you for your attendance and engagement today. Although peace might at this moment seem an uncertain prospect, I am heartened that Irish solidarity is not. Ireland recognises that our continued support for Ukraine is not only the right thing to do, but it is in our fundamental national interests. It is vital not only for the people of Ukraine, but for safeguarding the security of Europe as a whole, for protecting our own freedom and values, and for clearly calling to account unprovoked acts of aggression. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has highlighted once again the value of European unity and solidarity. Now more than ever, it has become clear that Scott Akela, Varan Nagdina. This is why Ireland stands with Ukraine now and for as long as it takes. For Margaret.